right, let's get going with the top story. So it turns out we were looking at Oakland, right, and the teacher strike that started today. Well, we keep hearing about more and more strikes across the country. By the way, everybody, we have a little bit of activity going on in the newsroom right now, so it might sound a little loud, but I'm here with you, and we're going to get going with these top stories. Okay, so this first one, we're going to head out to West Virginia, where it appears teachers are striking there as well. Let's get the details.
Teachers filled the halls and crowded balconies as a late House session progressed without an omnibus spending bill to consider. Democrats happy the chamber killed it that afternoon.
It was great to see 451 go down today.
Unions worried it would be resurrected for another vote, which didn't happen Tuesday evening. Republican Finance Chair Eric Householder saying the Finance Committee will move ahead with a straight 5% pay raise proposed by Governor Jim Justice.
Well, I've had the bill for a while in our possession, and I think, if anything, the Speaker, he indicated that he would like for me to proceed with it.
Even a straight pay raise bill doesn't guarantee the spirit of SB 451 would remain dead.
We'll continue reform. We'll continue to try. We will never stop. Trying to help the people of West Virginia.
Senate President Mitch Carmichael pledging to continue the battle for what he calls an education overhaul, and the Senate has the power to take anything the House sends over and amend it to resemble an omnibus bill once again.
I suspect that the Senate will probably, if I was a betting man, will probably put the provisions of Senate Bill 451 back into this pay raise bill, and we'll see it again, I'm sure.
Charter schools and education savings accounts remain the hot button provisions. Education Minority Chair Sean Hornbuckle saying there are more important arguments to have before the end of session.
We've got to get back to this PEIA issue and make sure that we're fixing that for all public employees, not just teachers.
Look at this, everybody. Flagstaff live picture. Wow, they are certainly getting some snow. And the reason I'm bringing this up in full is because it turns out there may be such a thing as snow fatigue and anxiety. Some people just really, really tired of it, not just here in Arizona because things are just getting underway. And we have all day tomorrow as well until the storm clears out. But across the country, nonstop snowfall in the Midwest this winter has left plenty with snow fatigue. The excessive winter weather has caused worse problems for some. Fox's Maury Glover has the story.
A nightmare. It's been awful.
If you live in the land of 10,000 flakes, chances are you've experienced your fair share of snow fatigue. But Laura Barnum says she suffers from something else, snow anxiety.
The thought of driving in it, especially when it's coming down, like if it snows overnight and then I know that it's over and I can drive to work, I'm fine, but if it's like this where it's snowing all day, I'm in a panic. I can't get my work done because I'm just worried about having to be on the road.
Whether it's knowing you have to shovel or snowblow your driveway or sidewalk, changing or canceling travel plans, or figuring out what to do with your kids when they're out of school for a snow day, round after round of snow can cause a little anxiety in anyone. Dr. Cheryl Bemmel with Allina Health says while people clinically diagnosed with a phobia of snow are rare, milder forms of anxiety caused by changes in the weather are more common.
It really can depend on one's personal history. If someone's been caught in an accident or has, been on their way to the airport and ready to miss their flight, that kind of sets the tone for memory, and then it may predispose us to have more anxiety about the next time.
Dr. Bemmel says the best way to treat snow anxiety is to do something fun in it, like sledding or cross-country skiing, to jog our memory that winter weather isn't always a source of stress.
If we have fun in the snow, what we're doing is we're just exercising that muscle in our minds to remind us of fun times perhaps that we had in snow as children. And doing things that we enjoy, of course, is just going to lighten our mood.
Nobody in my family has it, they just like, get over it, Laura, suck it up.
For the last couple of years, Barnum says her work allows her to stay home on days when there are big snowfalls to help alleviate her anxiety. And spending a snow day at home with her dog Audrey here is the perfect way to calm her nerves.
It's been a nightmare. I'm ready for spring.
All right, everyone, I know that I look pretty bright here. I'm trying to adjust the camera, so thanks for your patience and understanding. For those of you who don't know, my name is Pilar Arias. Happy Thursday. It might be a Thursday. Might be able to get some animal-related stories to bring you here, but some sad news now. A Florida man was just looking to help a stranger change a flat tire when tragedy struck. Fox's Valerie Bowie, or it might be Bowie, B-O-E-Y, spoke with the driver of the car who needed the flat changed about the Good Samaritan's generosity and the tragic accident that followed.
Well, the disabled driver is still in shock after he says the Good Samaritan that helped him was killed.
My tire blew and I hit the guardrail.
Jimmy Messer says he'll never forget the stranger who stopped to help him on I-4, even though he had just called a road ranger.
And he said, well, no, I'm here. Let me change the tire. Please let me change your tire. And I said, okay.
Jimmy was relieved because
I'm disabled.
When he popped his trunk, the Good Samaritan named Edward Keene saw Jimmy's walker.
And he pulled it out himself and told me to have a seat right there and he would change my tire.
And as he changed it,
when he told me it could be worse, that was the last word that man said was it could be worse. And then he was gone.
According to FHP troopers, 37-year-old Fabian Thomas hit and killed Edward along I-4 and took off.
I remember screaming, and the next thing I know, I guess I was on the phone with 911.
Volusia deputies arrested Thomas at this racetrack and charged him with leaving the scene of a fatal crash.
But he just kept going. He didn't even hit his brakes. And I really hope that the judge gives him the maximum sentence on that.
And Jimmy says Edward was dragged by the suspect's car from the back tire all the way to the front of the car.
I want the family to know that I'm sorry, my wife, my kids are sorry. If I didn't have the flat tire, he would still be here.
Now Jimmy hopes to help the family of the stranger that helped him on I-4.
There's nothing I can do to bring him back. Dad can't even bring him back, but it can help the family.
Jimmy says he'll always be grateful to 41-year-old Edward.
He was one of the nicest people I've met in Florida so far.
And Jimmy says he found Edward's glasses on his windshield. Edward leaves behind 2 grown children, and he also took care of his mother. The family says they plan to reach out to Jimmy. In Orlando, Valerie Boy, Fox 35 News.
All right, Valerie, thanks so much for that report. All right, I think it looks fixed. What do you guys think? Better? All right, we're bringing it right back here to Arizona with some more serious news of the day. Top stories right here on News Now. Turns out a city right here in the Grand Canyon State grappling with the opioid crisis, reporting that they've had almost more drug overdoses this year than in all of last year, all of 2018, and some of the deadliest drugs reportedly being circulated in schools. Fox's Sierra Encinas has more from San Luis, Arizona.
This pill and stuff like this shouldn't be something a child or teen my age could get easily.
The drug fentanyl, 50 times more potent than heroin, hitting more than just our streets. It's now hitting our schools. Often comes in a pill form under the disguise of oxycodone. They're often crushed and snorted and laced with a deadly amount.
Obviously, the biggest issue that we're facing right now in San Luis is the M30 pills. And that's where it's mixed over on the Mexico side and then transported across the border.
The San Luis Police Department says they're seeing people as young as middle schoolers use the drug, but the majority of drug use is happening at the high schools. Last year, San Luis firefighters alone saw a total of 16 overdoses, and now, just 2 months into 2019, they've already seen 15. One of those, the death of a 17-year-old high school student. His former peer explains he's seen firsthand classmates using the drug at school.
I've seen a girl take a drug, which was like a pill, but she snorted it.
To reverse overdoses, first responders use Narcan, a nasal spray used to stop opioid overdoses.
Sometimes we've seen as many as 4 doses administered to a particular person who finally obviously came back. They've got to get to the hospital after that because they're just in very serious condition.
Police are continuing to be proactive and are working to educate kids so they can stay away.
The biggest message that we can face is the message of choice and the message of getting good educations and making those types of choices. You know, I can either take the choice to either take the pill or I can make the choice to not take the pill. It's the greatest power that we all possess.
Reporting in San Luis, I'm Sierra Encinas.
This pill and stuff like this should...
All right, everyone, sorry about that repeat starting there. Sometimes those stories just end so quickly and we can't punch the button fast enough to get off of them. So apologies, but we're still going here with the top stories. I actually happen to know the reporter who put together this next one. Her name is Kay Racine. We happen to work together in one of the many television news markets that I've worked in before as a reporter. So it turns out this story is about Ted the duck. Flew the coop after a storm blew down his enclosure, and his adopted human family has been very worried. Again, Fox News' Kay Racine has the tale of the duck that found his way home in the back of a patrol car.
Officer Chelsea Stillwell has dealt with the worst of the worst, the baddest of the bad, and now the quackiest of quackers.
I thought he wanted to come with me, and in fact he did. He went on 2 calls for service with me.
This 7-year Oakdale Police Department veteran says nothing could prepare her for her most recent encounter of the fluffy kind.
He was very intelligent He's a very special duck. I've met many animals in my life and my career. I've never met an animal like Ted.
Stillwell says she was investigating a separate incident last Thursday when she encountered the 2-foot-tall subject.
You want to go patrol?
This is Ted on that day in question, as he waddled after Officer Stillwell, then hung out in the back of her patrol car until a little investigating led her to the duck's owner.
This is, Officer Stillwell with Oakdale PD. This is going to sound odd, but do you have a duck?
I just laughed. That's really all I could do. She wanted to make sure he got home safe, and I'm grateful for that.
Lydia Field says that day a storm blew her backyard's fence open, which allowed Ted to escape. But this isn't the first time this mallard has run afoul.
He went under the fence and just wanted to play with the neighbor's cat.
Field says Ted found them back in November after her kids helped dig up some meals and she borrowed the neighbor's kiddie pool. Ted, or Tedward, made himself at home.
He'll come inside at night, sleep in the laundry room, and sometimes watch TV with me.
We tried to ask Ted why he left last week.
I want to know, what were you thinking?
But he's no stool pigeon.
In the cowboy capital of the world, this duck, Ted, has not only become a part of this family, he's become a part of Oakdale's flock.
As for Officer Stillwell, she and Ted are getting along swimmingly, even if he did break the law that day.
He didn't do anything except for jaywalk.
In Oakdale, Carrie Seed, Fox 40 News.
Okay, awesome to see you there. Would you guys all say that counts as a Thursday story? Yay, nay, quack. All right, remember, I like to get to know you all, where you're watching News Now from, how you found out about us, and get certain viewer responses to questions, right? And the emoji response questions are the best ones. So I'm going to ask, how many of you would like to have a 4-day work week every single week? Let's either see the thumbs up emojis or the hands up emojis or the yes emojis, right? I know when I was in college for a while, I only had Tuesday, Thursday classes, and it was wonderful, especially because I always had to hold a job while I was in college as well. So I get the sentiment, I get the idea, I get the feeling. And the reason I'm asking is because imagine having a 3-day weekend every single week. Sounds good, right? Well, one company recently experimented with the 4-day work week, and both bosses and employees were happy with the results. Fox's Mac King, went out to find out if the idea has the potential to really catch on. Do any of you actually work 4-day work weeks? I know some employers do.
Just work harder, work more.
That advice about summarizes the American philosophy that catapulted this country from an outpost of rebels, colonists, and convicts fleeing poverty and religious persecution to the world's #1 economy in less than 2 centuries. But in this instance, it also refers to the belief held by many Americans today that they can accomplish an entire week of work in just 4 days.
It's a matter of efficiency.
People's time is so valuable, considering how challenging it is to manage their personal life and their professional life, that they're willing to give up career opportunities and compensation for extra time off.
Human resources expert Gregory Giangrande views the 4-day work week adopted by companies like Perpetual Guardian in New Zealand as yet another example of the evolution of flexible work arrangements over the last 3 decades, and thought the University of Auckland's findings that Perpetual Guardian employees reported a drastic increase in work-life balance and decrease in stress when working only 4-day weeks made a lot of sense.
I'd rather have 3 days off.
I think so. Yeah, wouldn't you?
After decades of canvassing by labor unions, Henry Ford popularized the 8-hour work day and later the 5-day work week in this country around a century ago.
100 years ago, if Henry Ford had made the decision to move his factories to 4 days instead of 5 days, we'd be on a 4-day work week as the norm anyway.
Every major company followed Ford, who reportedly shortened the work week to give the American worker more time off to spend their hard-earned money on things like cars.
Big corporations are more dependent on other big corporations.
The current business ecosystem likely prevents a large company from fully closing 3 days a week, but Giangrande thought it possible some might move their workforces to a rotating 4-day work week without decreasing payroll or sacrificing the total amount of work accomplished.
I know in Europe, people say that they're a lot happier because they work less.
I have a lot of work to do.
In Midtown, I'm Matt King, Fox 5 News.
We can all dream, right? Some of you do say you work a 4-day work week. Some say you once owned your own businesses and have done that. So I'm a little jealous, a little envious. As a full-time employee, I've never worked a 4-day work week. 4 10s, right? I mean, I'd be willing to, though, honestly. Okay, I am so excited. It's very rare that we get to show you technology news ourselves, where like some other, well, I mean, another reporter did put this story together, but a lot of this video comes direct from Samsung. You probably heard the announcement yesterday. Several new phones, the S10, there's, I believe, an E model, the S10, the S10 Plus, and then probably the showstopper of the entire unveiling event yesterday, the Galaxy Fold. This is the smartphone that's going to fold out kind of like a book to make a double-sized smartphone that's going to be like the size of a tablet. Well, I'm done talking. Let's give you all the details now.
We'll begin with a spin.
Inside Bill Graham Civic Auditorium before a packed house, Samsung launched what it says will be a new era of mobile.
The Galaxy Fold is incredibly versatile. It's a smartphone, a tablet, and a camera that fits in your pocket.
Galaxy Fold users will be able to seamlessly transition from a 4.6-inch phone to a 7.3-inch tablet.
I can easily pull out Google Maps. But here's where things get really cool. I can unfold it and instantly see the map on the big screen.
Samsung also announcing the launch of the latest in their line of Galaxy phones, the S10, with a larger screen and an in-screen fingerprint unlock feature, freeing up even more real estate on that screen.
Embedded directly beneath the screen is the world's first ultrasonic fingerprint scanner.
Samsung is saying the new devices will launch just as the latest, faster 5G service becomes available this year.
Here in the U.S., our first 5G partner was Verizon.
Tech analysts got their hands on the S10 today, putting it through its paces and saying it's the workhorse of the Samsung product line.
I mean, you look at the price points, they're $750 up to $999 for those three S10s. That's where the majority of phones are being bought these days.
But experts say it's that folding phone that will generate the most buzz.
People have been talking about foldable phones for a very long time, and to finally see one that you can actually get your hands on, that it's been made by a big name company with software that looks very impressive. I have to say, I'm excited to try that.
Yeah, lots of excitement there. I'm a Samsung enthusiast myself, so I know I'm looking forward to seeing some of those phones out and about. All right, we are live now in Chicago, Illinois. Jussie Smollett, the Empire Star actor, expected to make his first court appearance there. And there's a podium set up. You see all the media outlets there like, hey, we want somebody to talk, anybody to talk. I believe people want Smollett more than anyone else, but they'll take attorneys too, and they just want to hear, what's the latest, what happened in that courtroom. No cameras are allowed in the courtroom. We will get sketches later on, so we will wait to see there. Cook County Sheriff's Office, as it depends on what the bond is set at, if released on an, is it I bond? Does anybody know? Is it L bond or low bond? And has a cash on hand, then yes, he will be able to walk out in front of the courthouse. So that is from the Cook County Sheriff's Office, their press secretary there. Cook County Criminal Court, Chicago, Illinois. We're going to continue to watch live. And as soon as somebody comes up to that podium, everyone, I will bring up the audio. But meanwhile, members of the public are walking by, and we don't want anybody to say or do anything that we don't want to inadvertently hear. So when and if someone comes up to that podium, I will have the audio up for you.